For the second time this week, Donald Trump's national campaign press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, went out there to conservative media in a very softball interview and completely struck out. In fact, enough with the baseball-softball metaphors, she bombed. First, she bombed on Newsmax, which I talked about over at Ring of Fire, where they asked her, like, why won't Trump go on ABC? You said he's not afraid of hostile media. And then she made some BS excuse, which completely contradicts the actual excuse that Trump has given. So she made her own boss look like a dumbass. Then the next day, she goes on Fox News with Harris Faulkner. And this time, she was obviously given a set of talking points that were printed out for her. But she didn't bother to read them out loud first, based on what we can tell. Because here is what she said after reading these talking points, and then she goes on the air and says this. President Trump is right. The Democrat Party has sadly become a cabal of anti-Semitic, anti-Israel radicals, and Kamala Harris continues to kowtow to the far-left pro-Hamas sympathizers in this great country. Kowtow. Now, in case you're not familiar with it, kowtow is not a word, unless you're talking about like the hoof of a cow and you want to call it a toe because you're a 3-year-old. Sure, kowtow would be a thing if that's your mentality. She meant to say kowtow, Kowtow, but of course, because she had not ever heard this word, clearly didn't know what it meant, and was just reading talking points, she sounded it out phonetically. It was like kowtow. So here's what this makes me wonder. Was she reading off a teleprompter? I mean, kowtow is a difficult word to remember if it's not a part of your everyday vernacular. It's not a part of my everyday vernacular. So I am assuming, based on this, like she didn't just memorize that word. Her brain could have switched it out for another word. She had to have been reading off a teleprompter. And that to me is the most hilarious thing. If you are the national press secretary for a presidential campaign, you shouldn't have to be reading off a teleprompter for a friendly Fox News interview. So it suggests to me that Fox News may have given her the questions in advance. The campaign got together, wrote out the responses, and threw them up on the teleprompter for her so she would not get lost. That's what I believe has happened. And as someone who has helped people for decades prepare for segments on Fox News, sometimes Fox News does send the questions. Sometimes Fox News asks you to send them their talking points. So this is not out of the realm of possibility based on my experience with Fox News. Now, granted, it's been years since I've had to do that for anybody, but in the past, that is absolutely how they operated. I don't see why they would change things because it makes it easier for the idiot host there. But she didn't know that word and she didn't bother to change it. She didn't know how to pronounce it and nobody told her how to pronounce it, and therefore she probably doesn't even know what the frick it means. Karoline Leavitt, for those who do not know, again, national press secretary for Trump's campaign, she's 26 years old. And being young does not necessarily mean that you're not good at your job, but clearly she's not that great at her job. But she is a young individual that's never worked on a successful campaign, including the time 2 years ago when she ran for a House seat and lost. So she doesn't have any real normal experience. She did intern at the Trump White House, was an assistant to Kayleigh McEnany. Again, it's experience, but it's not normal experience that actually helps you learn on the job. And she's not the only 20-something that Trump has working in his press office. I forget the other one, but I talked about her this past weekend, I believe it was. You know, she goes out there and flubs things all the time. She is the one who was the failed actress. You know, and that's typically the way, like, oh, we failed in Hollywood, so now let's go become a Republican. But Trump is putting these 20-somethings in charge of this major campaign operation, and every time they go out there in the media, they screw things up even worse for him. Maybe it's time to put a seasoned veteran out there, Donald. Maybe get somebody that's not a young, bleached blonde 20-something that you like to look at. Maybe get somebody with some real experience and, hell, a little bit of knowledge. Or at the very least, get somebody who knows how to read off a damn teleprompter. That shouldn't be that difficult to find. Hi, everyone. This here is little Athena. And Athena would like to know why you haven't subscribed to Fair and Balanced yet. So please, don't let Athena down. Subscribe today.